Welcome to Relatively Conscious. My name is Antonious Brown.
And I'm Ervin Bryant.
So today we're going to talk about in this segment policy considerations.
Yeah.
So we're going to take policy ideals, kind of destruct them, and see where the real meat lies.
Right. So we get these considerations from a recent march in our alma mater, I guess is what you call it.
Yeah.
You don't go to school there anymore. Prairie View A&M, we mentioned it a bunch, and so in the way of the rest of the country, as we reinvigorate Black Lives Matter, because they always have mattered, but we got to make it happen, right? On a policy level, there was a march 7 miles long, approximately, from essentially from Prairie View's campus all the way to the county jail. And so it was hot, but students were concerned and impassioned, and we made it happen.
The camera panned up, King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes.
Us in small part, we didn't put it together, but we were there. We made it happen physically, right? And did the work. And then there's some policy demands that were made there that are quite popular, in and around the community that we'd like to take a look at.
So one of our demands we made was we demand accountability. So a citizen review board for Waller County. The second demand was bail reform. So like you can see, it's like Washington D.C. or San Francisco, I think also has this policy of cashless bail, basically where you are released on your own recognizances based on a system of how much of a threat you are to be a flight risk. And finally, we demanded rehabilitation programs in jails for those who do end up serving time out in jail. There'll be programs to help them rehabilitate when they do leave the jail. So this leads into the other popular ideals. I think as a whole in the world, one thing that comes with a lot is community policing. The other one is defund the police or invest in the community. Force de-escalation methods like 8 Can't Wait was a great website. I'll continue to say it time and time again. And then bias training, which I can go on a rant about how that's an issue.
Right. And so first things first is community policing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run down the popular argument that we've heard a lot, and then go ahead and deconstruct.
Yeah.
So first things first. This is community policing, not in the popular way in public policy, or you hear community policing. It's like, oh, my police should look like me. They should be like the guy next door. That is not what is being proposed here, and it is the more, dare we say, radical idea of community policing, wherein just community members, almost like a neighborhood watch, but with some kind of executive power to actually arrest, and not citizens arrest, but genuine arrest and punish for crimes. The examples given would be in the Asian American community, in the Chinatown, right? So the police aren't as active over there, and they quote unquote police their own community. I was about to start critiquing, but how did you handle it?
Yeah. The main problem with that concept is that community policing only happens in places where English is not the majority dominant language. So like Chinatown, or places what they call Little Italy, or in places where Mexican Americans or Latino Americans can speak a vast amount of languages. So you're talking about Portuguese, Spanish, different versions of Spanish,
Korean, Chinese, Italian.
New York is a real big place. This happens a lot. And basically in those places, there's community policing out of necessity, not out of a want for the community to handle its own businesses, but out of necessity because the police department doesn't have the resources to linguistically speak. Basically, they have the language ability.
I cannot talk to you.
Yeah.
You won't understand it.
To work with the community. Yeah. So therefore, those places, there needs to be a translator, and then just not wanting to deal with the police and deal with the translator all the times. You decide to go to someone else in the community who is a older person, a figure who can be looked up to, a godfather.
Often a thug.
Yeah.
Often, when you think about, oh man, I need somebody protected. Oh, I need something done with force.
Yes. You think of, a godfather.
Yeah.
That's who becomes the people who can patrol and control those communities. So community policing is a myth in the fact that it's going to solve the problem we have for policing today. It doesn't, especially in the Black community, you don't have the language barrier, so therefore it doesn't work in that same way. And also the whole idea of giving community officials some executive power, it starts to break down. We start to get into the nitty gritty of it. The one that does work though is investing in the community. So investing like in schools, mental health, things like that nature, those do seem to work because you're investing on the front end of these issues many times, which is a lack of education, a lack of mental health, a lack of other things. But what is this normally? The only problem we see with this is we just don't have the money to do it. Like big budget cities probably can. But you're talking about small towns, you just don't have the capacity.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. The kids gonna act a fool when they cut the programs for after school.
Yeah.
Kanye West, it's not rocket science. If people don't feel cared for, if you're not giving them things to make their lives rich, now I'm broke, and what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, and I think if we're gonna talk about the policy concerns, I think we need to make certain is that the biggest issue we're gonna have to go forward, and people talk about policy, is that the way police unions work, the way city budgets work, and the fact that COVID is going to zap so much money out of the city budget.
So much.
Yeah, this is going to be an uphill battle to get these institutions built. And the way, the practice of building an institution from the ground up is not going to be overnight. It's going to take a long time. Minneapolis had a historic vote to abolish the police force, but the police department. But it's going to be a long time, maybe 5 to 10 years before you really see the fruits of that labor and what does it look like, and did it go well. The fourth thing I talk about is bias training. So we're skipping over force de-escalation because we talked about that on the last episode. So when we go into ROE and how that works, that's force de-escalation. 8 can't wait, again, a perfect resource to look into how that works.
Banning chokeholds and strangleholds, requiring de-escalation, requiring a warning before shooting, exhausting all alternatives before shooting, a duty to intervene, banning shooting and moving vehicles, establishing a use of force continuum, which just means that the police have identified which force can be used in which circumstances, and then requiring that all force be reported. These 8 things are simple. They are things that mayors and police chiefs have the power to change today. We have just not had the political will and the courage to do so.
But bias training, because Joe Biden and other people, I think the president's trying to get onto this stuff. People need to have implicit bias training, and I'm gonna let you rip with that one, a new one.
So, my Black people, I know we've all felt in the atmosphere the spirit of Caucasian repentance. My white friends, co-workers, even an Asian homie reached out and said, hey, I think I was racist and I'm sorry. Are they new people? Will they still cross the street or clutch their purse when you're around? We know what's going to happen here, right? De-escalation training is not even as powerful as watching George Floyd choke for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So Starbucks tried it, the police departments try it, and all the biases and all the problems cannot, with all their depth, with all the historical precedents and all the mental brainwashing, all the master narrative and things of that nature that play into it, is not going to be done by people who can barely train themselves to not just kill people all the time. So it's different training, right? There's a bunch of different ways to train out of these behaviors, but implicit bias training is putting a band-aid upon a bullet wound. Black law.
Yeah. Also, I think the problem with implicit bias is just common sense says that that's just the people who need to train the most are going to be ones who are going to be most resistant
exactly,
to the training. Also, there's a anti-intellectual mindset to these people who do need this training. So you get a psychologist to come in and start telling you that you are racist. Deep
everybody's racist.
And your deep subconscious. They're not going to want to hear that. They're going to shut that off and not going to hear that noise. So I think it's just, I think as you often said, you can't mandate conviction. So I think one of the main issues is that I can set rules around how you interact with the public, but your heart, that's between you and God.
And once the man is dead, or whatever violation is done, it's done.
Yeah.
And the police union doesn't care about implicit bias training, and they're going to protect you regardless.
Yeah. So I think that's an ideal for the birds, really. I think if you invest in the community, you try de-escalation, and you try to break down the hold of police unions. I think that's where we can have the most acceptance. But why is implicit bias training so widely accepted by Congress and other people?
Because I mean, like everything, it's the cost is relatively low in every way. It doesn't cost as much administratively. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Like you said, those who want to be resistant can't just sit there and be resistant, get a certificate, and get on with their lives. It doesn't take nearly as much as changing the original training or investing in the community or any other solutions we've listed.
So as we move forward and you talk about this type of policy politicians, I would implore you to get into the numbers, get into the dollars and cents of how you be into your budget, and try to make conscious decisions moving forward on how we can make changes into our police force and police departments.